Hello, everybody. It's me, Angie Clay, and I'm back again with Liberate and Lather, a journey through self-care. And here today. We're going to talk with Ayana Webb, and we're going to talk about her business and what she does and how she implements self-care in her life. Ayana website, if you go to it, it's themusicalweb.com. And on it, you'll see it says a journey to musical success. She offers beginner online piano classes, and we'll talk about maybe if you're not a beginner and you want to learn something new, I'm sure she is down to help you with that too, but we'll find out more. And also, we'll learn a little bit about her. It was very interesting as I was looking into her business. She started out her career at an accounting firm and got into that for 3 months and decided that it wasn't for her. She felt a pull towards music. And so we're going to talk about that journey getting there. And she decided she didn't want to be a part of the cubicle nation. So she decided to make a twist. And so I'm really interested in hearing about that. And today we're going to talk about occupational wellness and how it's so important about having a job that you love and how that aids to self-care. And we're also going to talk about intellectual wellness. We don't talk about a whole lot about, but learning something new can really lead to more creativity and also helps with your knowledge bank. So without further ado, Ayana, welcome.
Thank you for inviting me on the podcast. I'm really excited to, share my journey, and hopefully it will inspire other people to, just take the leap and, do the things that they love, regardless of whatever resistance that they deal with, with the rest of the world. Because that tends to be the biggest passion of mine, is helping people kind of combat that resistance. We live in a world where we're always told no, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And we kind of fall into this programmed way of life. And it's already not normal for people to fall outside of that program, but to fall outside of that program and to actually succeed is even, more unheard of. And I do feel like we need more examples of people who can kind of fall outside of that programming that we all have, in terms of feeling like you have to be a part of the rat race to succeed. You have to be a part of the corporate world to succeed. And that's not true at all. So I feel like that's pretty much my life's purpose, is to kind of be the example to other people that it is possible to pursue your passions and to also learn everything that you need to learn to become successful financially, emotionally, spiritually, etc., while you're pursuing your passions. So, yeah.
Yes, I love those keys of wellness, because when you have all those things in place, you have something, one, to help you with checks and balances. And once they're all working, those keys open up so many doors for you, mentally, physically, everything. And then it's a good way to say, oh, wait a minute, I'm feeling grumpy going to work. So something evidently isn't like making me happy here at work. So I need to examine that. So with that thought in mind, so tell us a little bit about, so you were at this accounting firm, so everybody would think like, oh my goodness, accounting firm, woo woo, she's moving up the world. So
right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So here's the thing. Music has been a part of my life since I was a kid, since I was maybe 8, 9 years old, right? And, it was something that even when I kind of tried to shy away from it, it still found its way back into my life. And I just always had a gravitation towards it. And I was kind of growing up in a world where we thought, oh, well, I'm just turning my phone's been vibrating. I'm putting it on Do Not Disturb so it doesn't keep ringing. But yeah, because I was growing up in a world where people were like, oh, there's no money in music, which I found out to be untrue. I think the music recording industry right now is worth somewhere over $15 billion. So that's a totally different conversation. But the point is, I was under this mindset that I would not be making any money in music, regardless of what I decide to pursue. So what happened was, my decision to do accounting was partially inspired by my mom's history, because she was the first in our family to go to college, and accounting was her major at the time. So I was like, I told my mom, and that was a very pivotal conversation I had with her, because I told her when I first was deciding to, go to college and take my major, I was like, Mom, I want to be an accountant like you, and I want to make lots of money. So at the time, I felt like being happy and making lots of money were directly correlated. And me being young, I didn't really know any better.
Right.
And her answer was, as long as you do what you love. And she kept it at that. She didn't say, oh, do this or do that. She said, as long as you do what you love, that's all that matters. And it didn't really register how important that was until that internship came along, which the internship was extremely important because it taught me the true values of life, which is really what internships should be about. Yeah, you should, gain experience in internships, but you should really use the internships to get a taste of what your life is going to be like if you continue on that, on that path.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very fortunate enough to get a paid internship my first year in college. And most people know that it's hard to get an internship at all until like your junior, senior year. So I counted my blessings then. And even my boss said, all you have to do is you just stay here, continue your internship for 4 years. And then once you graduate, you pass all your exams, you have a job, here you go, you have to look for a job. So I was pretty much set, right? And then something interesting happened. Obviously, first day on the job is exciting or whatever the case is, but once that wears off, then the real feeling sets in. And, I started getting what they call the Sunday blues or Monday blues.
Yeah, Monday. Well, they
Monday
arrive on Sunday, and Monday is like the downpour.
Right. It's like, and we're talking about maybe 3 months into this. I didn't even complete the internship. And I was still in school and I was working there part-time. And it wasn't necessarily the job environment. So I'm not going to throw the intern, the firm under the bus because it was a great environment. It was so, for me, it was so unfulfilling. I just felt like I was withering away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
And I felt like I could do so much more in life than to kind of just go to the same job every single day and do the same mundane things. And it was just, it took a toll on me after a while. And I became so miserable. Like when Sunday came around, I just dreaded the week coming in. I'm like, it just felt like my life slowed down. Like, how like every minute feels like an hour. And then,
mm-hmm.
You're looking at the clock, like, okay, what time can I get off of work? And I had to really evaluate. I said, I've only been at this job for 3 months, right? And if I feel this way every single week, then how can I handle feeling this way full time for the next 30, 40, 50 years of my life? The thought of that just horrified me, And then I had to be honest with myself. I said, okay, well, let's just take money out of the equation for a second. What do I really want to do? What is the thing that's always been tugging at me that I've been shying away from? And it was always music. I'm like, if money wasn't even a factor, I would be involved in music. That's just my thing, was just music, So I said, you know what? I'm gonna take the leap. In terms of figuring out how to make money with music, I will figure that out later. I figured, okay, I'm a smart person. I'm sure I'll figure something out, but for right now, I need to make the decision to do what it is that I actually love, and then I'll feel the shift. And that's exactly what happened. I remember the day I switched my major to music, it was like a huge weight was lifted off. It was like my whole life was, I was about to embark on a crazy journey just from that day I switched that little menu bar, like, okay, which major do you want? Switch to music. It was like I knew a whole new life was coming ahead of me. And I remember coming home and telling my mom about it. I was like, Mom, guess what? She said, what? I said, I switched my major to music. And you know what she said?
About time.
That's what she was like, I was waiting for you to do that. And the crazy thing was, in my mind, I'm like, I told her, I said, why didn't you just tell me from the beginning to do music? And she said, you had to come to that decision on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been a roller coaster ride since then. So I guess you could say like the rest was history, but I think that the important part of that lesson is, like you said, do what you love. And it really does take an emotional toll. In the long run, it makes the rest of your life much more enjoyable. And, when it comes to finances, that is the secondary priority, at least to me, So if anything, they say you do what you love, then the money will come. And that is absolutely true. And that's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because we do what we want to do, right? And you know that, if this is something that you really want in life, you will, by any means necessary, really go after it. and the thing that
Mhm.
makes you want to get out of the bed in the morning, like
Yes.
bring out, that's what everybody's searching, but they have that imposter syndrome or the mindset, the fixed mindset,
Yes.
too nervous with what people say around them, to do that. I remember I wanted to be a fashion designer. Like I wanted to be in fashion. And everybody was like, well, you got to find something you need to get a job in. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so if you look at my career and all the jobs I had, I bartended. I wanted
Mhm.
to do, it was just like, I really wanted to be a writer. And
Mhm.
like now it's full circle. Like I'm back kind of like writing, doing things like that is in that. And I'm just like,
Right.
oh my goodness. But sometimes in life you gotta go through this whole big circle to come back around to what you really wanted to do.
Yes, that's how it always works.
Hmm.
It does. And I'm not even knocking, let's say if you pursue what you want and you still have a day job, in a way, well, I call those bridge jobs, because if you have a job that is sustaining you while you're building your business, and then that job also becomes integral in funding and investing, or giving you the opportunity to invest in your business. So if you're in a position where you need the finances to grow your business, then getting a job, I'm not going to knock that, because that would actually be important.
Yes.
To stay at that job would not be the goal, but to use that job to get you from one level to the next would be ideal too. So
Yeah. Oh, so people, that's kind of like your angel investor, right? I'm like your job. Remember, your job is just fuel
yeah,
what you want to do. So like, don't quit
exactly,
it. I was working
exactly.
Starbucks, sold phones to like keep my little dream going. It's like, and you learn so many things from those situations because you think about if you work at a coffee house, how many like creatives come through there having this
Yeah,
conversation while you're mixing. It was like in situations like that, I've met some cool people and was like, hey, give me a call. We can talk more about this thing you want to do. In
right.
each situation is a part that you have to look for the opportunities.
Mhm. Yes, agreed.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the music side. So now you've into your music. So how does that look in your life? Mhm.
You mean in terms of like my career in music, or?
Yeah, like so you teach classes. Like, how did you decide to like you want to teach piano classes? Like, you have these courses, which I thought was so neat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I switched my major to music, I didn't even imagine myself going the piano route. It's
Mhm.
ironic because as a kid, I actually hated piano lessons. You would never thought, that you would have never thought that my path had taken the route that it took. But even for me, I will be transparent that even when it comes to teaching piano, even that's not my last stop. You know, the one aspect of music is going to actually, I feel like that's going to catapult me into a much bigger purpose, which I'll get into a little bit later. But as life goes on, I start to understand the real role that piano plays in my life, and it really is a lot bigger than just me, which is also ironic. But what ended up happening was, I switched my major to music. I was going to go into originally classical voice, because I was going to go, oh well, I'm going to apply for the Metropolitan Opera and be an opera singer, whatever. That was what I had in my mind, and not realizing that even then I was still crippling myself because I'm still working for someone else.
Mhm.
So it was like this life path where it's like, okay, not only are you going to do music, but you're going to do music on your own terms, you
Mhm.
know. So I kind of missed that point originally, and a lot of things happened in my life that kind of forced me to start my own business, which I'm grateful for. In terms of like thinking about how do I explain this? When I was going to school for music, and piano was a part of the requirement to get my music degree. So I'd take piano. I think that was when I really kind of got back into piano, and I kind of got back to it at an age where I could really appreciate it, and I just took off with it. But a lot of unfortunate things happened. My mom passed away, unfortunately. When I was still in school, I actually ended up having to take off of school for about a year and a half to take care of her. Um, and right after she passed away, I decided to go back to school because I felt like it would be healthier for me to kind of just, get, work on something productive as opposed to dwelling on grief. And, that was my way of coping with grief, was to get back into school and to, focus on my career and things like that, which it did help. But obviously, because I no longer had that internship, I was still in need of some finance, some financial support, things like that. And at the time, my mom was my financial support, but since she was no longer there, I was kind of caught in this situation where I had to sink or swim, and I had to do it fast, you know. So what ended up happening was I was, I figured, okay, I'm good at piano now. You know, I'm still in college. I don't have my degree, but I know something. So what I was doing was I was applying for different jobs in the area, like, you know, different little music schools where you can teach kids private lessons, things like that. And what happened was I kept losing those positions to people who have master's degrees and who've been teaching for X many years. So it was a very competitive business. And I learned that pretty early on. So I was getting frustrated because I'm like, I'm, you know, applying to all these different places and no one is, you know, accepting me. So I said, you know what? I said, what is going to stop me from just taking what little money I have left and just ordering a bunch of flyers and just getting my own students? So that was pretty much how it started. And what happened was I ordered 5,000 flyers. I actually still have some copies of those flyers. We're talking about 2011. So I might have to take one of those flyers and laminate it or something, you know, just to kind of remind myself of what my, you know, my beginnings. And I remember getting up that summer every single morning at 5 in the morning and putting out 100 flyers or going to 100 houses a day and putting out those flyers on doors. Because I had in mind, I had an idea of how many students I wanted to get by the end of the summer. And I said, okay, I kind of worked the numbers backwards. If I need X amount of students, if I want to get this many students, I need to pass out this many flyers. Because as you know, it's about conversion rates. You know, for those who don't know about conversion rates, let's say out of 100 flyers, I get one student. The conversion rate would be 1%. So I go, okay, if my conversion rate is 1%, if I want 20 students, I need to pass out 2,000 flyers. And if I want to get 20 students within a certain period of time, I need to pass out this many flyers in a certain period of time. I had a whole like system, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to get these flyers out in the morning before people leave their houses. So the first thing that they see on the door is the flyer. They'll, by reflex, they'll read it. So I had this whole system where I was getting up at 5 in the morning during the weekdays, passing out 100 flyers a day, you know, just getting, you know, just hitting the pavement. You know, I had my maps with me to make sure I marked the streets that I already did, and I marked the streets that I was going to do. Like I had this whole thing planned out. And then by the end of that summer, I ended up having like over between like 20 to 30 private students.
Oh, wow.
So, and if anything, it worked out better because I was able to set my own rates, which means I was actually getting paid more than I would have if I had applied to those other jobs. Because the way it works is, you know, however much they charge for lessons, I only get a portion of that. Whereas if they're my own students, I get 100% of what I charge, and I set my own schedule. So it just worked out better. I should have did that first. And then, you know, just fast forward a few years. And then after some time, I was like, you know what, this is nice, but I don't want to stay here. I want to be able to expand my business. And that was when I got the idea of selling courses online. And this is when courses, you know, over the internet was starting to kind of catch a little bit of traction, not as much as it did this year, but you know, it was a thing. So what ended up happening was I, you know, published my first course, which is the one I have up online now. It's called the Online Piano Course for Beginners. So that's like my flagship course, which is it's $99. And it goes over all the basics from like the very beginning of like how to name the keys in the keyboard. And it goes all the way to, you know, you being able to play both hands, being able to play in different keys, learning about chords, learning how to sight read. It goes through all of those different theory basics, and it comes with exercises, things like that. So I initially built that course in 2015, I think it was. And I started aggressively promoting it in 2016. And that was when I got connected to my mentor. Yes, I'm gonna plug him in. His name is Jermaine Griggs, and he has a website called hearandplay.com. And he has an incredible story. Like just by himself, he has a whole nother incredible story. But long story short, he built that business. Now his courses, he teaches people how to play gospel piano by ear. So it's piano, but it's a different aspect of it. And he made millions off of that off of that company. And he became so successful that he created a second business called automationclinic.com, where he teaches other business owners how to sell courses and how to promote their courses. And the most important aspect of the way he taught me was automation. So it was really about not only being free from a financial standpoint, but also being free from a time standpoint, you know, which I think a lot of course creators and people who are getting clients tend to miss, because they're like, oh yeah, quit your job, get clients. But what's the point of quitting a 9-to-5 job if you're transferring over to a business that's going to take up 10 hours of your day, 12 hours of your day, you know? So what ended up happening was, and I'm getting somewhere with this. So I kind of got on that train. Basically, he was teaching me the systems, how to use my piano teaching business online to be able to automate my income and also automate my time. So I said, okay, you know, my goal is to be able to eventually switch my business model over to where I don't have to teach physical private lessons all the time, you know, because it became a growing business with private lessons, but it also became very draining, because now it went from 20 students to close to 40 students. And then it became like super long days, and it was just, I just became very tired all the time. And I'm like, I want to be able to travel more. I want to be able to, you know, expand my business to where I can make more money than what I'm available to do time-wise, if that makes sense. Because in that case, I would be my own bottleneck. So the course route was the way to go, because number one, the course is already up there and people are just paying to access material that I've already recorded. So I don't have, it's a hands-off system pretty much. So that was the goal, was to transition from private lessons to doing courses in my membership program online. And that's exactly what happened this year. Actually, May of this year, 2020, was the final month of me teaching private lessons. And my life has been totally different since then. So yeah, thank you. So that's pretty much what's gotten me here.
That's really amazing. It's a really good story, especially for, you know, I interview a lot of women that already have, you know, businesses, and we talk about the self-care within that, but also too, my business serves other women who are, you know, have jobs, but also their dreams could be, how can I start my own thing? And hearing your story allows them to say, hey, I can leave this job, or I can use this job to fuel some other things that I want to do. And if people are in their businesses currently and they're sitting at their desk in their house at 10 hours a day, they may say, well, wait a minute. Eureka, I found it. I need to find a way to automate my business. So that's really good. So tell me about your self-care. So you've now automated things. How do you take care of yourself in that way?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, because now that I have more time, at least for right now, ever since I discontinued lessons, the first thing that I did was I took a few months off, in a sense of like, you know, the minimum that I do is check emails, but that's only maybe like 15, 20 minutes a day. I even hired a customer service rep to handle the emails and phone calls. So even that, the customer service side of it is now pretty much automated. It's outsourced and automated. And the first thing that I did, the week after I discontinued lessons, I went on a 2.5-week vacation. So, and the thing that brought me peace of mind was knowing that I didn't have to limit myself when it comes to travel, because I didn't have to worry about losing money, because the money was also, you know, the income that was coming in from my online courses didn't require me to be pinned to a particular location in a particular time. So that by itself made things so much easier, but I made it a priority to give myself room to deflate, because I'm like, I've been teaching for 9 years. That is not telling my age, but that's a third of my life. So, you know, I work, and then to try to get my online business off the ground, I'm doing two different things, and I'm taking a few years to do it. The first thing I said, I need to just take time to just relax. And, you know, I had other ideas of things that I wanted to do, but I said, you know what, let me not sabotage myself by just jumping right into the next venture, because I'm not giving myself a chance to really recover from all the hard work that I put in to get to this point. So that was the first thing, and it made such a big difference. And during that time, I also made it a priority to read more, especially when it comes to how-to books, and, you know, kind of focus a bit more on my finances in terms of, you know, building my assets, you know, appreciable assets, making sure that I have my savings and other things that I've been putting off, because that money that I would have been putting towards saving and retirement was going into reinvesting into my business. So that was the other thing that I started to shift my focus in. And that was, like I said, that was the first line of self-care, was just taking June, July, and August to just not worry about other ventures. Don't worry about jumping into something else, because, as entrepreneurs, we're always like, oh, hustle, 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 hustle.
Next thing, more, give me more.
Right. So I had to turn that part of my brain off, because I'm like, if I do that, I will go crazy. So that's mentally for me, that was the key. And then, once you do that, once you slow down, you start to realize, okay, yeah, this is something that I needed. And then your body will kind of tell you when it's ready to do the next thing. So that's kind of the phase I'm in now. I'm like, okay, I've rested for the summer. I've got my vacation time. I've got my rest time. Now, physically and spiritually, mentally, now I know I'm ready to move on to the next thing. But even then, I'm still taking baby steps. So that's the first thing. And then the other thing that I've recently started to do is I started to do my runs. So actually, I did a run this morning, right before I did this podcast. And the other thing too is also eating healthier, because that can take a huge toll on your energy levels, your mood, things like that. And I realized, I can do fitness, but anybody who knows about fitness knows that you can work out, but if you're not eating healthy, then all that working out means nothing. Right. Whereas if it's the reverse, if you eat healthy and not work out, eating healthier will still have a much larger effect, on your body, your energy, and then working out will kind of be like an accompaniment to that. So I figured, okay, I need to get on top of both. I've been, experimenting with smoothies lately, like, fruit smoothies and vegetable smoothies and, plant protein based ingredients, things like that. So that's the next thing that I've been focusing on, I would say, within the past month or so. And it's made a huge difference. My face is cleared up. I'm more energetic. I'm more, I can take on the day. I don't feel drowsy when I wake up in the morning. My Mondays are great.
No more Sunday, Monday blues. Yeah.
Now it's really like, if I could get the rest of the world to understand what it feels like to wake up on Monday morning and go, you know what? I wake up on Monday and I'm like, I'm ready to tackle the week. I'm excited about, what I can achieve this week, what I can accomplish this week. I'm like, if I could get the rest of the world to feel that way, then I'd be good.
And I think it'd be any day of the week, whenever the weekend would end. If the weekend ended on the Tuesday, like, I hate Wednesdays. I always felt, I love Mondays. I was like, oh, poor Monday. They hate on you,
Right.
And then it was like hump day Wednesday. And it's like, poor Wednesday, give you a hump, It's like, slide into the weekend. It's like Saturday, right. All the love. Friday and Saturday, it's like, because they're mad. Now it's back to Monday. That's why it's so important to like find that occupational wellness, things that you love, so that you feel good regardless what day of the week is. If it's Monday, you're like, cool,
Right.
And one thing about being an entrepreneur too, we Peter Vogue said this, he was like, you always do the opposite of what other people are doing. So usually when you're an entrepreneur, like during the week where everybody's at work, like you're in, Trader Joe's, you can get through it.
Right.
Like on the weekend, I do not go to any box stores. It's like, I'll be like right past. So I'm like, I do this when everybody else is like at work. You get through, like, it's just so much easier.
It is. And you know what? If there's one message that I would like to give to entrepreneurs, it really is, they have to know the difference between activity and productivity. Actually, my mentor did a video on this, which is actually one of my favorite videos of his, on his YouTube channel called Automation Mondays. And he said that there's a difference between you always being busy there's a difference between you always being busy, you're always feeling like you're getting things done because you're always in in hustle mode, and understanding how much of that work is actually bringing you results. And in some cases that may end up, holding a lot of entrepreneurs back, because they're spending a lot of their time doing things that aren't bringing them results because it feels good to them. It gives them that satisfaction, if that makes sense. And he brings in this, I'm not sure if you've heard of this term called the Pareto principle.
Yeah, right. You do the 20%, you get
exactly
results. Yeah.
Right. So he also talks about the 16X. I'm not sure if you heard about that.
I don't heard about the 16X. No, I know.
So
Grant Cardone has something like similar? Does he know? I think
I
about his
don't
book
really
that he
follow
has.
Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't really
anyway, go
follow
ahead. Just
Grant
tell us about
Cardone
the
in business.
16X. Yeah.
But it basically takes that Pareto principle for those who are watching.
Mhm.
It basically it's an 80-20 rule.
Mhm.
Not the one from the Tyler Perry movie. That's a different 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
It's basically saying that out of 100% of the work that you do, 20% of that work or 20% of your efforts is responsible for 80% of your results, which also means that the other 80% of the work that you're doing is only responsible for 20% of your results. So the idea is to figure out what 20% of your efforts is pushing the most weight and to expand on that and to automate everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So if you spend, let's say, your entire day sending out emails, checking emails, you can automate that. If you're sending out emails to your email list, or if you're trying to keep track of who responded to what, there are programs that actually can automate those follow-up emails. Like if you find yourself doing follow-up emails all day, you can use a program like Infusionsoft who can automate those follow-up emails for you. So you just save yourself hours of time, right? That's an example of something that can be in like the 80% of the effort, and you can focus your 20% on things that bring you results, like, let's say, paid advertising that's going to drive traffic to your site.
Mm-hmm.
Building your sales page that's going to be responsible for persuading people to buy from you. Because once you build that sales page, then the sales page will do the selling for you. So it's basically focusing your attention on what's actually important, and then everything else can kind of just be outsourced or automated, things like that. And what the 16X rule is talking about is basically what it's saying is the 20%, if we go with the 20% bringing 80% of results and 80% bringing 20% of results, it's saying that the 20% is 16 times more effective than the 80% of the effort that is only bringing 20% of the results. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm following. I'm saying, like, you should focus more on what's getting you the results, basically, at the end of the day, right? Instead of going here fiddling around with things that's not going to give you ROI, return on investment.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I could do like a whole nother segment on that, but that's,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm like, go to his Automation Mondays channel and find the video that says activity versus productivity, because he goes into more detail about what that means. But yeah.
Awesome.
So focus on what works and don't get caught up in this idea of the busier you are, the more productive you are, because in some cases that can actually hold you back, and that can cause you to become your own bottleneck. And bottleneck, for those who don't know, means that it's whatever is in whatever part of your business is limited and it's keeping your business from growing. That's your bottleneck. And sometimes we can be our own bottleneck. So yeah, that's one thing that I would really press upon entrepreneurs is don't get so caught up in trying to be productive all the time, and focus on what part of your system is bringing the most results and what can you automate. That way you can free up your time and still make more money.
Mm-hmm. And have more time for self-care.
Yes, exactly. And that's the ultimate thing, because we burn ourselves out. And that's the most important part.
For sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You're so knowledgeable. Could be here all day talking about this stuff. I love it.
Right, it can be.
Yeah, because once you have systems in place, you have all these things. Everything is a system, right? From the keys of wellness to automating your business to all these things. Once they're all working like a well machine, from your body putting in good stuff, working out, it works well for you. So it's awesome that we talk about these things and share these things with each other. Yeah, so awesome.
Absolutely.
So tell everybody where they can find you on the internet streets if they want to reach out to you.
So my last name is Webb, W-E-B-B. So the website is called The Musical. So you go to www.themusicalwebb.com. So that's www.themusicalwebb.com. And on Facebook, you can just type in The Musical Webb. It should pop up. Instagram is whatever the handle is, The Musical Webb with the exact spelling. So, and also, my email is info@themusicalwebb.com. So those are ways that you can reach out to me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come out to talk to me and everybody else, giving us great tips, things I can take away for myself. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on all the
Thank you.
doing. I really appreciate you sharing. So
Thank you, and I appreciate you reaching out to me and giving me the opportunity to share the information with you guys and talking with me.
yes, I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. See you guys soon.